Hello everyone, welcome back to the Nora Show. Today, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. The kids are at track. I don't need to go grocery shopping. I don't need to do any cleaning. I just need to finish up this video. So this is actually a pretty good situation. All right, we've got about 3 weeks left of summer vacation. Wow, is that exciting? I'm not sure who's more excited, me or the kids. Let's talk Haslam Dress Foundations. When we are talking about a dress foundation or a sloper or something that is a base concept of you and your measurements in a 2D form on paper, there are a couple of different ways to approach this. I know that your mass commercial pattern creators like Simplicity, Butterick, and Vogue, I'm pretty sure that all of them have some concept that you can use to lay out a pattern and then alter it with the intention of creating a foundation that you can use to then mess with and create your own creations, designs. I know that you can go from a single dot on a piece of paper and draw yourself out. This takes a lot of work and a lot of time. I found it to actually be incredibly worth my time, and I have full intention of going back in and doing it again from scratch just to use what I have now experienced and do a better job. And I'm very excited about that. Now, Haslam is a very interesting thing because it tries to create something that is very accessible to most people who are even remotely aware of the concept of sewing. The Haslam system has 3 components. The first one are 70 plus books of draftings. Consider these the patterns. The second one is the foundation drafting books. You've got 3. You have one from the 1920s through the 1930s. It looks like a tube. The second is the early 1940s, which I covered in a different video. The third is the later 1940s and the one that is used through the 1960s. The final component is the Haslam chart. You will need all 3 of these components to be able to use this system of dress cutting. I would like to compare and contrast the first 2 of the 1920s through the 1930s tube foundation to the 1940s, the early 1940s foundation. The 1940s and the 1950s were similar enough that their foundation did not change much. I'll put it right here. Now the 1920s and 1930s, they were a little different. Things changed by the 1940s. I'm now going to put the 1920s and 1930s foundation up right here. This is so different. Let's actually put these 2 together. Take a look at this. This is completely different from each other. You don't even have a waistline within the 1920s and 1930s marked. You have a hip line. So this is a very interesting concept. Due to the lack of a waistline in this dress foundation, unlike the 1940s and 1950s, they have a separate foundation for a skirt alone. I'm very excited about that concept because, well, again, it looks incredibly simple. I'm going to go ahead and draw those out. I want to play with those skirts because I really like these 2 skirts. I think they would look absolutely fabulous with everything I'm doing. I can't quite tell, however, where it's wanting the waist to land, because it's the waist measurement here has nothing to do with your waist measurement. It has to do with your hip measurement. And I know I keep looking down. I apologize for that. I'm staring at this pattern very hard. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, there's no waist measurement. It's a hip measurement, and it's basing it on that. this will require a muslin. This will require some tweaking. I'm very tempted to jump in. I'm very tempted to just sew it. I think I would like to do a little more research on the 1920s and 1930s sewing methods, as well as design aesthetic, what they were actually going for, before I start cutting things out and going 2 years later going, oh, that's why it looked so wonky. So I think some research is needed. But first, let me show you how to actually draft the dress foundation for the Haslam system of dress cutting for the 1920s and 1930s, which is this episode. Let's start with the back foundation. Please note neck dot A, neck measurement dot 1, shoulder measurement dot 2, bust measurement dot 3, and dot B arrow. I am not entirely sure what happened to the footage of me making a dot at each of these points, but this is the result of me making each of these points. First, draw a straight line from dot A through dot B. I draw the required length of the dress later by continuing this straight line. This is the back center line. Next, draw the shoulder line from dot 1 to dot 2. For the neck curve, turn the chart over to the front and place curved arrow on dot 1 and draw to dot A. For armhole curve, place arrow F on bust dot 3 with the blue curve of the chart to your left and draw to dot 2. Time to do some math. Let's figure out the back hip measurement. 1/4 multiplied by your hip measurement minus 38 minus 1, which results in 8.5 inches on the back for me. It's time to make a parallel line off the back center line, the distance out that your back hip measurement resulted in. So I measure 8.5 inches out from my back center. I keep this a light yellow line. Drop a line from point 3 to your hip yellow line 13 inches down. This will now be point 4. At this point, I extend the center line all the way down. Drop a perpendicular line off the center line to dot 4. This is your hip line. It should measure exactly the same measurement that you did all of the math on. Remember to label as you go. For the underarm line, take the line between dots 3 and 4. Mark the half distance, and at this point, measure ½ inch inwards and make a dot number 5. Draw a straight line from dot 3 to dot 5 and a line from dot 5 to dot 4. I checked the chart in the book for the width for the bottom of the dress. The 10-inch measurement that I will be using is designed for a dress of 38 inches hip measurement. I then check my regular Nora measurements, and I have a 41.5 length for the back indicated. I complete the back center line at this point. I then mark 10 inches out at the bottom and raise it by 1/4 inch and round this out by using corner 1 of the chart. We now have a completed back dress foundation for the 1920s and 1930s Haslam dress sewing system. Remember to allow 1/2 inch for turnings on all seams. Let's mess with the front now. Please note on the front of the chart, dot 1, dot A, dot 2, dot 3, and dot B arrow. Oh, fabulous! I am doing things out of frame. Thankfully, I am simply marking the dots that I just pointed out and am labeling them. Draw a line between dot A and dot 2. Draw a line between dot B and dot 1. For the neck curve, place arrow F on dot 1 and curve to dot A. For armhole curve, turn the chart over to the back, the long straight edge to your left, and place armhole arrow, small, medium, large, or extra large, see following particulars, to the extended dot, the blue curve touching dot 2. Draw around the curve to dot 2. Don't forget to pull dot 3 1/2 inch out. You actually might want to do that before you put the curve for the armhole in. Time to do some math. 1/4 times your hip measurement minus 38 plus 1. This is your front hip measurement. Your front center line needs to be completed at this point. There is no indication of exactly how you are supposed to drop this line down off of line 1B. So I decided to wing it and eyeball it. I'm aiming for a tube look. Then I draw a parallel light yellow line, my front hip measurement out from the center line. For underarm length, measure 13 inches down to the parallel hip line. This will be dot 4. Drop a dot at the halfway point on this 13-inch line and measure 1/2 inch in. This is dot 5. Draw a line between dot 4 and 5 and 3 and 5. I marked the waistline, but this pattern actually doesn't mark the waistline. Drop a perpendicular line off of the center line to dot 4. Remember to label everything. Finish out your front center line according to your measurements. The width for the bottom of the dress on the front for a 38-inch hip measurement is 12 inches. Please note that you use corner 1 to help pull up and curve up 1/2 inch. It was at this point that I realized that my paper was too narrow. Why is my paper so narrow right now? Well, I ran out of my infinite roll of paper, which was absolutely the craziest thing ever because it really did seem like it was going to last forever. And then I switched over to this other roll and I ran out of that as well. So now I'm going to tape a little paper because I need about 1/4 inch, a little bit more on the bottom. Finish the line from point 4 to the bottom of the dress, then use corner 1 at the bottom of the dress to help curve the dress up 1/2 inch. These are the two foundation dress pieces for the 1920s and 1930s Haslam system of dress cutting. This is weirdly simple. There's nothing to show. It just looks like this long tube. Again, just like the 1920s dress that I did. So I am incredibly curious how this is going to go because I can't quite tell how the skirt is going to fit or the bodice. So this needs to have a muslin. And I'm going to need to steam clean my carpet because that looks so gross. But I love him, so he can do what he wants. I'll clean up after him.